Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of InterBrews. My name is Josh. You should know that by now. We've done over 230 episodes. We've got to 230 episodes because we have a lot of fabulous listeners and the best guests in the world. And if you want to help keep that going, Patreon. That's how you can help support the show. For as little as $1 an episode, you can help InterBrews continue on for years and years and years and years and years. We've been 8 years strong. We want to do another 80. I don't think I want to do that long. That's a long time to find. But anyway, you can help support the show as little as $1 an episode. Just go to interbrews.com/Patreon or patreon.com/interbrews, and you can help support all this. It's in your ear holes right now as you drive down the road. Anyway, let's get to the show.
The following is a presentation of Stewed Productions.
This is Kelly Meyer, and you are listening to my discussion about my new book about how not to start a fucking brewery.
This is InterBrews.
What did they say when you proposed the title? When you handed it, does somebody say you can't name a book that?
Oh, I'm sure somebody would say that. I actually submitted, I want to say 40 to 50 different places, or I guess presented it to 40 or 50 different places, from literary agents to publishing houses. Mm-hmm. Nobody actually told me no because of the name, but there were people who just didn't reply. So we can all assume. Yeah.
I would be remiss, that noise you hear in the background, that was ice being dumped and ready for you to come have delicious meals at Thistle Draftshop, where we are doing this interview, because Kelly said he's coming into town from New Braunfels and said, "Where's a cozy place?" I said, "Let's go to the coziest of places." Mary, how are you?
I'm well.
Yes, you are.
Thank you, gentlemen, for being here.
Thank you.
My first time. It's a beautiful spot.
Yes,
cool.
It is one of my favorites, and that includes my house in that list.
Really?
So it might be.
I've been to your house.
Yeah. So I don't have to clean here. That's the thing. So it's like, oh, well, it's okay. But anyway, so a book. Let's talk about a book. Well, let's let everybody know. People should know who you are if they listen to this podcast. They're Texas beer fans. They know of New Braunfels Brewing. If you don't, you need to make delicious beers. Everybody, I would assume, has heard of Pickle Fucker.
You would think by now.
Now. And that now there's light bulbs. Oh, yeah, the Pickle Fucker.
Oh, he's that guy.
Yeah. So the original pickle beer.
Well, you had to drop that one.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
It was.
There's a lot of people that we'll get into hype is a thing, right?
Indeed.
If you read the book, you'll understand. Kelly wrote the book on, at least the chapter on hype. And it's, yeah, that's a thing. But you made the most of it and are continuing to make the most of somebody else getting a thing for a thing you did better. Anyway, let's talk about the book. Enough about me talking about the book. Let's talk about you doing the book. All
right. What would you like to know?
Actually, let's get some things out of the way. Book stuff. Okay. How long did it take you to write?
Almost a year.
Okay.
And there were some times where I didn't write for 3 weeks, but overall, I started it about a year ago. Okay.
And then, when did you decide? Just all right. I'm sitting down, putting my butt in the seat, my hands on the keyboard. I'm writing. When did you decide? I mean, because I've mulled around, doing different things like a book, or maybe I should try like some stand-up, or maybe I should do a video thing or whatever. I never actually do it. It's all great. There's a lot living up here. Not a lot, actually. The podcast is as far as I go on the creative stuff. So when did you actually sit down and start writing?
I would have been about last February. So I talk about that a little bit in the introduction, but my wife and I had some meetings in January about potentially closing the doors and running away, actually. And so I made a list of the things that I thought we did wrong. Uh-huh. And that was probably going to be a podcast, maybe going to be an article. And then all of a sudden it just sort of continued to become, it took on a life of its own in a way. So over the last year, it became a book.
Well, from somebody who's talked to a lot of new brewery owners and people that, like, the cool thing about this podcast, like I just interviewed the guys at Fetching Lab.
Oh, yeah.
And it'd been 5 years, or almost, it's been like 4.5 years. And so it's a big leap forward in the life of a brewery, especially in the craft beer, timeline. Things have changed so much.
Well, they had a big expansion maybe 2 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, the new tap room and everything. And so it's like, you kind of you get these big moments on the podcast. And so to read your book and to see Don't start small. You see where, there's examples here. Yeah, they probably all could have said that. It's like they should have read your book 5 years ago.
Well, I actually say that in the book. I should have read the book as well. And that's one of those things that it is not 38,000 words of me sitting on a podium telling you how to do it.
Uh-huh.
It's as much telling you, look, I fucked these same things up.
Yeah.
You're probably fucking them up. Take a look at it. You may want to change some of them.
Right. And it's you just, I don't know. I guess I'm in a unique situation interviewing a bunch of brewers to see a bunch, I'm not calling anybody out. That's the last thing I'd ever do on the show. But you kind of see there's a big difference between that we're about to open, their eyes are huge, and they're super excited, but they're also terrified. And it's like, I don't know how you can, I don't know. There's different levels of expertise and experience and all that kind of stuff. It's just a neat observation to make. But I think everybody should read your book. I guess is what I'm saying.
I think there's a lot of nuggets for everyone. But yeah, I joke, and I think the Amazon listing that I may make you cry.
Uh-huh.
I'll definitely make you laugh. But I think, there's some times where even if I had read this book 2 years ago, there would have been some moments where I was like, oh my God, what an idiot I am. So I think definitely there's some tough stuff in there. But.
Yeah. Well, the thing that speaks to me, chapter 1, when you start talking about marketing.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm really bad at that. So it's like, and it's true. I don't know how people rank podcasts, and I'm just keep talking about podcasts because that's what I know. But anything, restaurant, bar, TV show, whatever, we see it all the time where there's something that's really, really good, but nobody noticed it. It was like the Americans show for the first 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Nobody knew how great that show was. And then people started watching it, and the last season was not that good. And then they gave it awards after the last season because a lot of eyeballs were on it, I think. Anyway.
Sure.
I did a podcast about the Americans, too.
Well,
nobody listened to that either.
Well, and the opposite is true. Also, if you asked anybody to name the top 10 craft beer bars in Houston, one of the ones on the list went out of business this week or is going out of business. So, everyone knows Drink of Ages is great. They would all say it's a cool place to go, but for some reason, not enough people went to keep it in business. And that just sucks.
Yeah, so. It does. When you think, you try to start, analyzing that sort of thing. You see the post and all right, let's break this down. What happened? And maybe you can point to this or that, but it had everything you wanted. It was John.
Yeah.
His beard. He had his own radio show to promote it and everything, and it's in town, and you walk in and he has hot dogs. It just the whole vibe, the live music.
Literally, what more do you want?
You don't really. Yeah. No, there's not. I'm just saying. But I know, me personally, I only got to go down there a couple of times because I live way out here. I'm coming to Thistle because it's within reach.
Yeah, which makes sense. I live in New Braunfels, so I have a better excuse than you. But yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. We see these great things, and it's not always just about being great. There's more to it, and that's where you start the book. So, I don't know. Do you want to? I don't know how much when you write a book that not everybody's gotten their hands on yet. How much do we want to let people We don't want to give away the whole book, right?
If I can sit here for an hour and talk about the book and that makes it irrelevant to read it, I did a pretty shitty job writing it. So okay. Ultimately, let's talk all we want.
Okay.
But I think we can break down whatever you want to talk about. There's a lot of just sort of nuggets in there. There's even some kind of formulas and stuff that people would do some individual work with. So I think there's still a lot of value to it, even if we go through it. So
okay.
Go for it.
All right. Well, on the marketing side, if you talk about what you would do, what you did wrong. But to do it again, what would you say, for somebody getting ready to do anything, but a brewery in this instance, what are the must-dos as far as marketing leading up to your opening? What would you say? Is there Well,
I think the obvious ones are social media today. Mm-hmm. It would be giving yourself enough kind of pre-sale information so that as you go to a beer festival or you see someone at another brewery, you're starting to let people know that you're coming, and that will build organically. I don't think print marketing is the secret.
Yeah.
It hasn't been for a while, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But, your local community, everything you can do, go to the farmer's market. If there's an event you can participate in locally, do that. And then really at the end of the day, it's as pathetic as it is. It's the sign, it's the logo, it's the, there's some great breweries I see even here in Houston that have good beer in a good package, but you can their name doesn't stand out. You can barely read it. And as stupid as that is, it's going to make a difference, particularly the further it travels. You know, send that to Louisiana, and it's going to die on the shelf. It just,
font size.
Mm-hmm. And character. Yeah.
Is there font size? Okay. Yeah, okay. And character. I want you to look at my logo after this and tell me what you think about the...
Off the air.
Either way. Yeah. Let's keep it to the book. But yeah, it's that little stuff, right? And that's the thing where, like a business, Mary, you can speak to this, there's so many things to consider. Like when opening a business like that, like, you know, here you are, like when I think of, this, they put all the thought into these delicious meals and the bar layout and this environment. But then, what about your font size? It's like, it's a completely different thing, right? It's, I don't know, there's got to be, they're experts on font size.
Well, there are companies that you can hire.
Good.
And I actually reference that in the book. I got quotes from companies and I just wasn't willing to pull the trigger on the amount. And now looking back, $5 or $10 grand is nothing compared. I spent $400,000 on the equipment. Why wouldn't I have done that? That was stupid.
So what when you bring up a lot of numbers, and that's what I love because it's like real, tangible, like information, like cost per pint and barrel and all that kind of like ingredient cost. I mean, you get nuts and bolts on this. It's great. I don't know that I've read another beer book where they on the business side of that. I don't know if there is one.
Well, that was actually one of the reasons that I wrote it, or I felt that it was necessary. Is I don't think that just a story of me fucking up and doing dumb shit is going to be interesting by itself, but that there was like a true hole in the kind of the book, beer book business. That if I was looking to start a brewery, which I read a bunch. I read like 50, and then what I realized is that none of those nuts and bolts were in there, and so that was something that could truly make an impact on somebody's career. That just wasn't available. Yeah. And of course, you can hire a consultant for, I think the average is like $150 to $200 an hour. But, I have no idea whether they'd even do a better job at breaking that down for your individual recipe. And I'm sure, hopefully they would. But
yeah.
So I felt like the book needed to happen for some people that it actually had a reason to exist. And so much like beer, if you're making another boring Pilsner with muted flavors, it doesn't need to exist.
Right.
I think this book was unique, and so that's why I wrote it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. You make the statement in chapter 1 about the beer, like the best beer doesn't. And Mary and I were talking about this before. We were talking about you before you got here. The best beer doesn't always correlate to the most sales. Like you can have a 9.75 out of 10, German lager or something. I don't know. That's the greatest ever, but if people don't know about it or there's no marketing behind it or whatever, that alone will not push you to be a successful brewery most of the time. I guess every once, I don't know. How does that, it's just, there's so much more to it. And you could, but, so you in that first chapter, you talk about the focus on the quality of the beer versus the marketing. It's like you only needed to get up to a certain point.
Sure. On
the quality of the beer. I don't know. To me, it's obvious when you look at it and, just experience it. It's like, yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense, because, I mean, I drink a lot of beer, but I'm not a professional beer taster. I don't know. Like, there's certain beers, yeah, that's good. And I try another one, yeah, that's good too. And if somebody were to say, well, which one's better? I'd be like, that one's blue.
Right.
That's right.
Well, and more importantly, which one's in your fridge?
Right. Exactly. That plays a lot into it. When I'm honest with myself, like what I buy, if it's there in front of me, that's a big, that's a big one.
Favorite beer is the one in the glass in front of you.
Yeah. Typically, but
that's the broader market too, and I think that's the biggest. For me, that was the biggest eye opener. That I had a distributor right out of the gate, so maybe 2013, tell me that it doesn't matter how good it is; it matters how consistent it is. Yeah. And if your beer's either consistently good or consistently bad, as long as you're consistent, we can sell it and we will make money behind it. Yeah. And I was like, that sucks. Like I've noticed, I kind of pushed that, one of the many things, I pushed to the side that I should have listened to, but this was a Miller distributor telling me that. One of the largest brewers in the world, they probably knew what the fuck they were talking about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing. We want to vilify those big guys because, man, they're assholes, right? Yeah. They are. They're professional assholes. But they're really good at it. It's like, and it got them. I mean, they're multi-billion-dollar conglomerate. That's a thing.
Well, we all think that like craft beer is the standard, and all of our buddies are into it. And we're still the massive minority. Like 80% of beer being drank in America is by one of those guys. Yeah. So, do we know what the hell we're talking about? Does my book even relevant? The guy from Miller should have written it. But yeah,
but they didn't, and that's the thing, though. It wouldn't resonate like those big numbers. Like you'd have to take like 7 zeros off of what they're doing.
Yeah.
To even like, and does that even like it's like scaling up from homebrew to a commercial brewing system? Does it scale up? No, you got to adjust those. That's where your book is so important.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for sticking up for me. I appreciate that.
No, it's true. But yeah, there's something to that though, to like what the big guys do as far as like the sales, and I mean, I don't like their marketing. It's like everybody, like as craft beer people, we kind of see through it. It's like, ugh,
yeah,
right. But I don't know. There's something to it. They've looked into it. They didn't put out a stupid ad saying dilly dilly without a lot of like charts.
Yeah, well, that model's been working for them for years. So
right.
Yeah, decades.
Right. I wonder. Like we all want to say that it's changing. I feel like it is, but it's a lot slower than.
It's definitely slowed down. I think Brewers Association has said that we've had growth every year, and then it kind of went flat in 18. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if the numbers are accurate, that we're going to see a decline in 2019. Not big, like 1% or something to that effect, but we're just not seeing the growth. Like the new guy is not coming in like he was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And maybe there's somewhat of a saturation point, but I think more importantly, it's the fact that those guys have a lock on the market. If they've got a cheaper product in the convenience store, and whatever you think of Spindle Tap, they're not going to get a 6-pack on the shelf for $7.99. It's just not going to happen.
Right. And it almost like you have to go sell it to the convenience store owner. Like there's some convenience stores like around Austin and stuff where you go in, it's like, whoa. Like
yeah, those guys are totally into it.
Yeah.
And there's one in San Antonio. To give you an idea, there's like 15 or 20 in Austin. Those guys are cool. You can text them the new release, and they're like, oh, sure, give me a case. I'm into it. Uh-huh. There's one of those in San Antonio, and actually they don't even have gas anymore. It's just a store.
San Antonio, you're close to San Antonio, so I don't want you to alienate everybody in San Antonio. But what is it with San Antonio? Like they've got some great breweries, but it's just, I don't know. It's like it's, I don't know. Like it just doesn't, it's so close to Austin. You would think that maybe it's maybe it's like the anti-Austin like mentality or something. Where it seems like the craft beer scene is not taken off like it has. Well, in Austin's like maybe it's Austin that's an anomaly. I don't know. What am I saying?
Yeah, but Austin's definitely an anomaly in the sense of kind of they're into new stuff. They're into it. They're checking out the new things. But San Antonio, for the longest time, and I think it's changing a little bit, but for the longest time, they were super brand driven. Mm-hmm. So, like, if you're a quote unquote craft beer bar, then you're going to have Stone, Sierra Nevada, and Dogfish because that's what the national craft brand is. Mm-hmm. And it's just there is good beer there. There's a lot of new breweries that have opened up.
Yeah.
But a lot of the breweries that really sort of define the scene there were making, like middle-of-the-road beers that would appeal to the guy drinking Dos Equis because San Antonio and Austin have traditionally been the largest Dos Equis market in the world. So you try to pull those guys away, and you do that with a double Russian Imperial Stout barrel-aged with cherries and red wine. It's just too much of a learning curve. So I think San Antonio's had some growing up to do, just like every other city. It just maybe took a little bit longer than Austin, but it's getting there.
It is. Okay. All right.
I think there's 3 new breweries that have opened up in the past few months.
Oh, really?
One of them is making like traditional styles, like
Yeah.
So I hope they stay around. Like that's the whole idea. Is like I'm so fucking tired of brownie batter stouts. I can't see straight. But so I think it's awesome that they're doing that.
You make your feelings on brownie batter stouts very clear in the book. Is there ever a place where you see that artistic side of like a pastry stout or something like that? Is there ever a like? I just feel like where is the line for Kelly on the disdain? Is it any pastry in a beer?
All right, so here's the deal. At the end of the day, I appreciate the artistic nature the first time it was done. The fact that it was novel and unique and interesting. But if you're making a French press coffee stout today as a new product, it's been done. Like, it's boring. So ultimately, what I always say is, at the end of the day, if it tastes like beer with adjuncts in it, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
If it just tastes like dessert, and the exception to that is there was one that I was super impressed by, but at the same time I would never drink it, and that was Parrish did some like chocolate covered cherry thing, which was unreal. Like, it tasted like an amazing dessert. Interesting. I tasted it. I'd never buy one. I'm not going to drink it, but I can at least respect what they did.
Yeah. Okay.
There are a lot of breweries, and I'm not in the mood to name them, but that make a pretty shitty or pretty like kind of low end stout, and then just throw 9 different ingredients in it, and now you can't tell the difference. That sucks. Like, that's not artistic. That's not cool.
Okay.
But maybe it sells. So then at the end of the day, right, like, they're writing a different book on the other side.
Right.
And I can agree with that. So.
Right. Why? 10 reasons why to make fucking pastry stout.
Right.
Whatever.
25 reasons why Kelly's an idiot. I like that one. Yeah.
The sequel. I always ask this when I've interviewed authors, and it's been like you and another guy, maybe 2 other people. If they were to make a movie of your book, who would play you?
Be fun if Jack Nicholson did it.
They might have to de-age him, do that whole Irishman thing.
That would be fun. Other than that, I don't know. You tell me. Who should play me?
Mary.
I'm thinking.
Yeah. Let's let that one. Let me think about that. I'm gonna have to sit here and contemplate that one, because I thought of the question, but then
Maybe Edward Norton.
That's not far.
He could do it.
He definitely could. Especially, actually, you remember American History X? Not this is bad, but you remember in the scene
He puts the head on there.
before. No, before that one, before he shaved his head. So when he was just getting into his dad, the scene at the table with his dad, and he had the long hair.
Yeah.
There's a
See?
there, and that was pre any no tattoos or anything like that in the movie.
Before he was a horrible, horrible person.
Well, he was just a budding horrible person, just one horrible, and he was getting there. Yeah, but that was Ed Norton.
Yeah, there you go.
So there you go. Probably should have thought about that one more. Okay, so your second chapter. We're not going to go through it chapter by chapter. I guess we could, but you said starting small. So this crushed my dreams because I've always thought, if I'm going to start a brewery, 1 barrel in my backyard, I don't know how it's going to work. Just brew when I feel like lead. Let the art lead me, and then just brew, and it'll be successful. That was, I don't know. I always thought if I were, I've had those thoughts like, when I open a brewery, I'd definitely start small, like super small.
Yeah.
And then I read this chapter, I'm like, what? I'm an idiot. So, do you think 7 barrels? You say is that kind of do you think that's the smallest you could do?
Depends on your business model. If the majority of it's sold on site, I think you could pull off a 5-barrel system.
Okay.
Most of the guys you see with anything less than that have another job, which doesn't mean that's necessarily bad, but
right.
I guess I'm talking about if you're going to be a full-time brewer and not sell life insurance on the side, that you're going to need at least a 5-barrel system with the correct fermentation space. I mean, if you have 2 fermenters, you're screwed. That's not going to be enough. You're going to have at least 5 to 6.
Yeah.
But
in today, like, I feel like in a lot of ways, craft beer has changed, like in the last 5 years, 10 years especially. One business model, you talk about the regional brewers just getting the crap kicked out of them. If that's the model you're going into in 20, like, things have changed a lot. If you were to start today, like, let's say somebody snapped their fingers, Thanos snapped his fingers, and your brewery got dissolved, but you still had to start a brewery today in 2020. You got, I don't know, the thing. I don't know if you're a Marvel fan or not. Maybe I'm getting too deep into Marvel, but anyway. You had to start one.
I have 2 kids.
Okay.
I've seen them all.
Yeah, okay. So then you come through the big circle with the Doctor Strange, and you're there. And you're like, open a brewery. Because, now we have all these extra people and no beer.
First of all, you're assuming I would do it. I'm just kidding. Go for it.
So where would you, like, as far as, like, styles, would you still go with the styles you brew now? Or are you still in love with them as much as...
I would, partially because of the fact that what I do now is a reflection of what I should have started with. Just in the sense of where my palate is and what I like to drink, what I like to create. I'm bored as hell to make a Pilsner. I like to drink them, but I can't be a guy making it. It's kind of like a skinny chef. Like, if you don't want me doing it. So I'd still do the same styles. I absolutely don't think that I would do it in the same city. I may have picked the worst city in Texas to open a sour brewery. But I live there. I like it. I would like to hope that could still work. But I know for a fact that I need a larger tasting room, a little more area to educate and do some more events. I would absolutely have done guest beer from the beginning.
Yeah.
And then, a more wide variety of products. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's one thing we're seeing with like I hate to say it, but like the hard seltzers and the ciders have gotten more popular, and even draft meads, and people are trying different stuff.
Yeah.
So,
well, some of that I think is because of the craft beer market has slowed so much. There's just not that explosive growth there. So, if you're a guy like St. Arnold, you're not going to get 20% growth next year in beer. So where else could you find it? You could probably kill it in cider. It makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. And I like cider.
Yeah.
But it's like I'll drink cider. Like I want to like cider more. Like I like it. Every time I drink it, I like it. But it's like I only drink it like once every, 100 beers.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And even that's, I go through a cider kick and I'll get like a 6-pack or get some bottles or something like that, and it's like, all right, this is my cider weekend, and that lasts for half of Saturday. And then it's like back to beer, and I got ciders left in my refrigerator. I don't know what it is. What is that?
One of my best friends actually is part of Argus Cidery. He's one of the two brothers that owns it, and
they make great stuff.
I drink their stuff, regular-ish.
Yes.
But as far as cider, same thing. Like, just it's not what I reach for.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it's acidic, it's dry, like my beer.
Yes.
Made them just different.
Yeah, that ginger perry is fantastic. Like even after I don't know it's like 6%, right?
Yeah, that one's a little bit. I think it's only like 5 or something like that. The Apple Bomb is like 6.8.
Okay,
so that one's higher.
Yeah, but that it's like really good after, like when you're hot day working outside, and you can grab that one. And I did that. I don't know. It's like when I do it, it's like I really enjoy them. I'm like, what beers am I missing right now? You know what it is? I don't know what. Maybe I just love beer too much.
You just got fear of missing out.
Yeah, something. Yeah, I really did. Like, I could have had that. That goes would be good right now, or something. That's always what I'm thinking. I don't know. I bought cider books. I've made cider. I want to love it more. It's got a great story. Johnny Appleseed.
It's probably healthier and better for us.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I can't quit you, beer.
I don't think you're trying that hard.
I'm not. Not at all, because I know I can't. Okay. So, I don't know where I was going to go from there. Small, though. Yeah, I get, full-time. I guess a 2-barrel system. You put out it's just numbers.
Yeah. At the end of the day, there's going to be somebody out there that can exceed those numbers, and that's the guy that proves the rule, not vice versa. You just can't be successful at that level. Not really.
Yeah.
And then the problem is that unlike some businesses where you can start small and then just slowly get bigger, it's just so goddamn expensive to get to that next level.
Yeah.
So to go from 2 barrels to 5 to even 7 barrels with the right fermentation space can be 10 times the investment. It's a big difference.
Yeah, the cost of equipment. Is it better now than it used to be, or is it?
Well, I'm not buying it now, so
right.
I don't know for a fact.
So you're not actively shopping or whatever.
I would think prices have come down from where they were, but steel's not going down, so possibly not. There's a lot more competition, but there's also some people that lost their asses on some guys going out of business, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. I wonder, is there, and I guess there's just no other material other than stainless that you can...
You can do copper, but it's more expensive, and it doesn't actually last as long.
Yeah.
And it imparts a little bit of flavor, too, so most people don't for those reasons. But, yeah, stainless steel's the best. Plastic's
just not a no-go. There's no form of plastic.
Strangely, you can use plastic, but I think one of the bigger issues is that it can scratch, and so it can hold infection easier.
Yeah.
So we have 2 300-gallon plastic tanks and 1 75-gallon plastic tank that are actually wine tanks, because wine guys, they use dry products also, so they don't really give a shit, which is super awesome. It's one of the best things about making mixed culture beer is that we're dry at the end, so it gives us a little bit of flexibility that even if it were to get quote-unquote infected, there's nothing for it to eat, not really. So.
Okay. Yeah. No, I love your beers, though. We have some beers in front of us. I'm getting a little... when I talk about I can't quit beer.
It's a lot of talking.
I know.
It's parched.
Well, with that, and then it's just... I like... The bottles talk to me. Like, Josh, drink me. What did you bring? What do we have in front of us?
Probably kind of a selection. So Heaven Essence is one of my kind of all-time favorites that we make. It's Blondine is the kind of the soul of the brewery. It's a light wheat beer with some aged hops and some fresh hops in the boil, and then it's completely mixed culture fermented from the beginning. And what I do is in the brewery, every time we empty a barrel for whatever reason, you can't leave them empty, and so I'll just put Blondine in there as a placeholder, maybe for a month sometimes, and then other times obviously for a year. And then every November I go through the brewery and just taste every barrel that has Blondine in it and come up with a blend.
Okay.
So that is this year's release. It's a blend of 8 different barrels of Blondine,
that's cool.
all different ages, some different, slightly different recipes based on when I was tweaking it, but ultimately, same beer, but just has a lot of complexity to it.
Of the beers here, would that be one you would start with?
It's a good opener, actually.
Do you want to sample a little bit? Anybody else? Is it just me?
Sure.
Okay, fine. Are we all done with our coffee? You need to chug
I don't need to be done with it. I'll just go back and forth.
Okay, all right. I drink
I'm
coffee.
a professional.
Okay, you are. I drink coffee too fast too. That might
Do
be
you?
part of my problem. I'll get through 2 cups and then I'm all. Yeah, I gotta figure out my threshold level of caffeine.
That's why I do espresso. It's
Yeah.
a fixed amount. I don't chug it. I do sip it, but it's pretty quick. And then I just drink water for like an hour afterwards. And It's clean.
How many shots do you do?
I do a double in the morning,
Okay.
and then a double before I go work out.
There's actually not that much caffeine in espresso.
Yeah, comparatively.
comparatively.
Yeah, you just get it all at once.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Do you get like the caffeine sweats ever?
Occasionally, but that's rare.
Okay.
Because I think part of that is the continually drinking coffee throughout the day. Like I just have that one little bit and then I'm done.
Okay. Yeah. We get a little buzz. I think it's that phone right there. Turn that channel down.
You think Mary wants some? I'm going to get Mary some.
Yeah. Of course, yeah, Mary does for sure. You can tell just by the way she's getting the coffee. Yes. Yeah, your beers. I love your beers. Can I just say that?
Appreciate that. When I was explaining this beer to you, I forgot we were on the air.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really? You just...
I was just talking to you like, oh, let me tell you what it is.
No, that's...
So now I'm going back going, I wonder if I explained it the right way for the customers to listen to it. But
No, it's
I
all
think I
good.
did.
So hopping, you said Blondine, and that's hopped already. There's no... Like you use like old hop. It's just more for the preservatives. Like
Yeah, so it's kind of a blend. Like when you come to the brewery, and I haven't changed the labels yet, but when I put the IBU on there, it actually says 13-ish.
Yeah.
Because what I do is target 14 IBUs with the amount of hops I put in, but 75% are fresh hops and then 25% are aged hops. So I don't know exactly what it comes to because of that. So aged hops present a little bit differently on the IBU scale.
Yeah. Okay.
I could send it in and get it spectrographed, but I'm not going to do that.
Well, wouldn't it change a little bit depending on the amount blended from different barrels?
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff?
Well, so most of the barrels should be the same beer, ultimately. So the IBU should be the same because I'm not using a different base product.
Right.
And it shouldn't change in the barrel much, but every barrel is going to have a different personality. So like on this one, I know 2 of them had red wine in them previously. One of them had a white wine beer that we did called Very Solemn Naughty. And so I'll just refill that again. And it's super subtle. It's not meant to be a big part of the thing, but it's part of the overall flavor complexity. So that lingering finish is the one thing that Heaven Essence always has. Other than that, it kind of changes year to year.
Yeah, no, I dig that a lot. I love, that's the thing. This is the romantic. To me, you make romantic beers. This is the romantic side of when you talk about just letting the barrel do its thing and then the blend and the different, all that.
What's funny, I sort of started just accepting that. Well, more importantly, I started just accepting that my personality was going to come out in the brewery. So instead of kind of holding it back, I was like, this is my brewery. It's going to be like our Facebook post today. It's got the F word in it, because that's me. That's who I want to be.
Yeah.
Or that's actually doesn't matter who I want to be. That's who I am. And so, ultimately these beers are an expression to me. And so I started saying and all the things that I did, and just as I was writing or doing a podcast, that I'm an artist producing art in the medium of beer. And I've been made fun of for it by other people who are like, artist? What do you? That's what I approach it as. So if you don't think it's art, I'm not right and you're wrong, or vice versa. We disagree.
Yeah, I think there's 2 mindsets in beer. There's the very engineering side, and then there's the artistic side, and you got to balance, because you need the engineering, hard numbers and calculations and all that, but you need the artistic side to figure out, what am I trying to engineer? right?
Mhm.
You got to have the inspiration, and then you got to figure out how to do it. And people are on that spectrum. So you're on this end of this.
Yeah.
You're on the spectrum over here.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Anyway.
Picasso actually said it the best, in my opinion, where he said that you have to learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist.
Yeah.
So you got to know what the hell you're doing. You can't
Yeah.
make a shitty product and just call it art. But like, at the end of the day, learn how the system works and then make it your own.
That's okay. So that comes into chapter 3.
Oh,
We're
look
talking,
at that.
Now look at that. Excellent segue about how to hire a brewer.
How not to
Or
hire
how
a
not
brewer.
to. There are. I think the story of the home brewer becoming the pro brewer without more formal education is a thing that's happening less now. But maybe I'm wrong.
I think as of larger scale, yes.
Yeah.
That was absolutely the status quo in 2013, 2014. But I think there's been a little bit more kind of money and professionalism coming in recently, I believe. But I'm sure there's still examples. I know there's still examples of it. So
There's there's a lot more access to formal education now. Brewing.
yeah,
I think
even as online webinars are better. I mean, there's other ways to do it.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's Siebel that's been around for a long time, but there's colleges offering, certification programs and 2-year programs and all kinds of stuff. So,
Yeah, I wanted to do Siebel when I started,
Mhm.
but at the time I had, how old they were then, but 5 and a 7-year-old kid, and
right.
starting a business. I'm like, I'm just not going to go hang out in Chicago for 6 weeks and then go to Germany for 6 more weeks, and
Yeah.
I
And
can't do that.
They
so.
offer very little child care.
Yeah,
Very
sure.
little. They're like, yeah, there's maybe some guy out in the hall that'll watch if you're lucky when you're heading into class. Yeah, dude, I'm here. People
Yeah.
barely use me, but
I think they got a bar there at the site. They just leave them in there.
do they?
Yeah, pretty sure they do.
I'd love to go do that. That's when I think
Yeah.
about if I had, no responsibilities and all the money. That'd
Yeah.
be one of the things on my list. Just go hang out at Siebel and just learn.
All right.
It'd be fun. I
I'll
don't know.
see you there.
All right. Yeah, well, if I have all the money and
Right.
I'm taking you with me.
Cool.
Mary, you want to go?
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes.
Let's go because I got all the money and none of the responsibilities. First thing I'm gonna do is get my short bus and pimp it out.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna all get in the short bus and drive up there.
I
Go
love
s-
the idea.
Yeah, just a joyride of beer learning.
Debauchery.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come with the driver,
Oh, of course. His name's Hank.
Hank.
Yeah.
Seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, it's jovial, large fellow,
Yeah.
but just always up for a good time and just chuckles at all my jokes. Oh, Josh. I've given it a little thought.
Yeah.
So I know who I'm looking for. Like with your brewer.
Once you put all the specifications out there, you'll find them.
Yeah, and must be named Hank. He can have a beard. Doesn't have to. Could just have a mustache.
Yeah.
Must wear glasses. Hair.
Raggy hair a little bit.
Either. Yeah. It can be thinning. Probably
Mm.
better if it's thinning. And
Well, he needs to be like the wise voice of reason. So at some
Yes.
point, he's a little older, thinning hair. Kind
yeah.
of fits that look.
And I want him to do something like smoke a pipe or something, whittle. Something where he, like when we walk up on him, he's just leaning on the bus between where we're going.
Mm.
He's doing whatever it is that. He needs something with his hands for that scene. That's just cut to scene 3, Hank leaning against the short bus, either whittling or packing his pipe or whatever.
Yeah.
Whittling some tap handles.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Oh.
Whoa.
Hand. That's it.
There's
Hank
another
handles.
business trend there.
And see, that's the thing. At the end of the movie, we don't even know that that's what he was doing the whole time. We just saw him whittling the whole. See, it's all coming together for your movie.
Boom.
This is the interlude. And then it ends it'll be like The Hobbit. It'll start with you writing the book, and then it'll fade into that. And then
Oh,
when you
yeah.
come back at the end, it's you. The end. Kelly Meyer.
It's not bad. There you go. Now you have an excuse to be a director.
I need to.
Mhm.
I also have. That's my second beer movie. It's all coming together. I have a whole series of beer. Did I ever tell you about my horror movie? The craft beer horror movie. I've mentioned it a bunch.
I feel like you have, but maybe
Yeah.
I'm making that up. But
The Head Brewer. The name pretty much gives away what happens.
yeah,
It's a trilogy.
there's 3 of them.
Yes. Well, it
Wow.
starts home brewing, then a mid-level brewer, as we found out, at least 7 barrels, probably more like 10 to 15.
Yeah, for accuracy.
And then after a horrible accident at the end of 2, he ends up running a mass conglomerate brewery as a crazy. That's the crazy guy, the monster,
Hmm.
not our hero. The hero may change. You don't want to get too connected in a horror movie because it's not about the hero. It's all about the monster. Right? Nobody remembers who came up against Jason. It's all about Jason.
Because they died.
Right. Even Corey Feldman died. You know? As a kid and as the adult Corey Feldman, even though it wasn't Corey Feldman, but his character.
Yeah.
So, I think he lasted the longest. The only one to go to, there's, 2 movies. I guess 1 and 2. The girl. The final girl. She gets killed at the beginning of the second one. Am I remembering this correctly?
You got more time than I got to watch movies.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of movies, but not these.
They're on Amazon Prime right now.
Oh, there you go. That makes more sense.
So after you download your book on Amazon Kindle, or
run over there,
buy it on Amazon, right? The paper version is coming, or the
paperback will be officially on March 1st, so it's Kindle until then.
Okay, and it'll be available on Amazon
Mm-hmm.
or anywhere finer books are sold.
Yeah,
or just
initially through Amazon, and then we'll scale it out from there.
Okay.
But
are you gonna do any book signings?
I might.
You need to.
The book's not so much about me, so I don't know. I go back and forth about it, but
I see this book turning into live presentations and things like that.
Oh yeah, some educational stuff.
Yeah, it definitely could. It's a rich book. I mean, there's a lot of fucks and shits, but for every fuck or shit, there's like twice that amount of information. And it's most of the time that the fuck or the shit is part of conveying said information.
It seems like a lot, but I did the math. I think it's only like 0.2%, so it's not that many fucks.
But you gave all of them.
I did,
because you can tell in the book. People, you need to read this book. It's great. I mean, it's any venture. This is not. I think this is one of those books that it doesn't just talk about. I mean, brewers obviously, or anybody in the beer industry should read it, especially if you're thinking about doing your own thing. I think this is one of those ones where people are gonna be like, you need to read Kelly's book, and then after you've answered all those questions, read it again. That's what I was thinking when I was like, oh yeah, this is a book I need to go through, and don't read it through and don't just glance over it, but actually answer all those questions. What are your the beers you're gonna debut with, right? Why are you doing it? How are you gonna market them? What are you gonna name them? Why are you doing it? It's the actual because that's what it used to be. Really simple. Your initial lineup, an IPA and a porter.
Yeah, everyone was the same. Yeah,
brown ale or whatever. And now, I don't know. You can't, like you said, you can't just name a beer after a local.
Yeah, the creek down the street or the big building downtown. Yeah.
It used to be all that, and I guess you can get away with it a little bit in a smaller town that doesn't have anything else around, and
in a mountain during ski season, maybe.
Yes. There's definitely it's you want to time travel, just go to a smaller town that's away from bigger towns, and you get a lot of that.
Well, and I think that's a lot of what the biggest change in the industry is that those kind of breweries sort of represent where we were 20 years ago, and there's 100 times the amount of breweries now. So it changed, and in a metroplex like Houston, you just can't behave that same way now. It's not going to work.
Yeah, the evolution. It's funny how you can see different levels of evolution in the craft beer world just in Texas, because we have so much diversity in size of towns and makeup of towns and what's close to it. You can have a town way out in West Texas that's not close to anything else, and it kind of, I don't know, it's like those birds on an island that evolved to have the certain type of beaks or whatever. I don't know. It's interesting stuff.
The Galapagos Islands?
Yeah. So, or whatever. Name your island.
All right.
It could be Galapagos.
Any island.
Any island. Or the lions on that one island that got so much bigger because the only prey they had to take down were these huge wildebeests, so they had to grow 100 pounds bigger than a normal lion because a wildebeest is big. That's kind of what I had in mind, but I went birds.
I think he means evolution, Mary. I think that's what he's talking about.
Yes, yeah.
Well, adaptation. Yeah.
Oh, that fits all right into the craft beer world and how it's changing and evolving.
Yeah, constantly and at a breakneck pace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so much fast. Literally 5-year increments are everything. Things were so different in 2015 than they are in 2020. What are they going to be like in 2025?
Yeah, somebody asked me the other day, what's the next big trend in craft beer going to be? And there's some ridiculous product that somebody's tinkering with in their basement that hasn't come out yet. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely not a German lager.
No, although German lagers are delicious, but that's the thing. It's you get all the the new thing pops out, hazy IPAs or whatever, and that was, I don't know if it was like percentage-wise, I don't know. I've never taken the time to look at it, but the people that like it are the most vocal.
Yeah.
So maybe that's part of it too. How we get our information and news, and like, is it actually a big thing, or is it just really loud people talking about it? I don't know.
Well, BJCP doesn't like to update their stuff, and they added it in, so they I guess they've given it credibility now.
Yes. Yeah.
Paying attention.
Yeah, but it's also, that's kind of how the kind of like politics go and stuff like that too. If you're just loud enough for long enough, people at the top are like, life's too short. It's fine. Just do whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's just,
give in.
There's a lot of that. Like, I don't. Okay, you got me. I don't really care. So just call it whatever you want. I think there may be an element of that too. Not that I'll drink a hazy IPA. Do you have opinions on hazy IPAs?
So maybe 4 years ago. So IPAs are one of the things that really got me into beer when I got in hard. It was Belgians and IPAs. About 4 years ago, I realized and accepted the fact that I do not like bitter beers overall. And so I'm just not an IPA guy. So that being said, I like hazy IPAs because they're not very bitter.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I necessarily consider those the core of an IPA, but I actually enjoy drinking them.
Okay. No, that's true. It's almost, they need to be called something else.
The same argument why I like Yellow Rose. It's not an IPA, but it's great.
Yeah. What would you call it?
It's made with Pilsner malt.
That's true. That's
It's
true.
an Imperial Pilsner ale, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
But it tastes great. Like, I actually like drinking that one.
I just had some last night.
I got no problem with it. I love the beer. But
Yeah.
the category it is named it that to sell, and it worked. So
It did work. Still working. Yeah. Worked on me. I love it.
the hazy IPA is sort of the same thing. It's probably not really, like, I guess maybe not the bitterness level of what an IPA would be, but it's more fun to drink and it tastes good. So
True. It's and in the end, again, what does it matter? It's like the people making up the name. I don't care. You know, it's like they're just.
I heard the same argument for Session IPA. Like, it's the most ridiculous name ever because it's not an IPA.
Right.
Like, by definition, it wouldn't be, but because they call it that, it sells. Whatever.
Right. Yeah. There used to be a lot of that. Like, St. Arnold's Origin, like their Oktoberfest is an ale.
Yeah.
It's like, and it, Brock's like, yeah,
we don't care.
but people liked it, and that was the label.
Yeah.
But now they have Guten Tag, which is like a traditional Märzen or whatever. So I don't know. It all comes back around, I guess. People like styles.
Yeah. Well, and I think it kind of goes back to some of the stuff I talked about in the first chapter, that the market doesn't care. We care, but they don't care. And so we're just spending way too much time overthinking it.
That's true. That's true. And that's, and again, there's a balance, right? Pendulum swing or whatever, when, the big guys always put out the marketing, the party atmosphere of beer. It was just a big party. Look, everybody's on a boat and nobody's wearing clothes. Look, there's a dog. It's awesome. Crack a beer. Woo! And that was it. And then people are like, that's stupid. Those people are empty, right? But then you start drinking beers and you start going, woo! And it's like you can't help but going, woo, because beer's awesome. There's an element. It's a piece of it, right? So, sometimes I guess we got to get our noses out of the glass every once in a while and just say, woo!
Well, everyone's got a story. Like, there's a beer everybody likes that they like because of the time that they drink it.
Yeah.
Like, if you poured me a 1554 today, I might be like, whatever. But I fucking loved that beer. When I'd go to Breckenridge every year, and I'd look forward to, like, having it in the mountains. Like, I loved it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd like it that much today, but it had a moment for me because of that, and it'll always have that special place in my. If I go to Breckenridge right now, I would drink it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's what you do when you're there.
Yeah.
That's the thing that you do when you're there, because that's what you did. Yeah. New Belgium, are they
Fort Collins.
Yeah, didn't they just get bought out?
They did, by some Australian company with a lion on it or something like that.
Oh, is it lion? No.
I can't remember.
Is that the
It's
name?
an animal.
Yeah. Okay.
Lion, it's like Lion's Capital or something. I have no idea.
They're not, so it's not craft anymore?
I don't know, man. That's a tough argument.
Yeah. Would you be in favor of getting hardline definitions of what is and isn't craft, or maybe different levels, or what do you?
I actually approached that in the book. There's a section about that. I would say that my personal opinion is that it's very hard to have any sort of line because it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, if you've been drinking Bud Light your whole life, Blue Moon is craft beer to you. Like,
That's true.
at the end of the day, it's got flavor, it's interesting, it pairs with food. The fact that it's owned by a conglomerate, it does take away something. It's not independent,
Right.
but it can still be craft. But for guys like us, I would never drink that beer. Just not. I don't know. I think it's a hard definition. So the Brewers Association did something with dollar figure, which makes sense, and ownership, which makes sense. But I don't think that means that if you drink a beer that's 26% owned by somebody else, that it's immediately shit. Sometimes it is.
Uh-huh.
And I would argue that Karbach was shit from the beginning. It just took everybody else them getting bought out for everybody else to realize that.
Uh-huh.
But I just think it's more about the ethos of the company, and at the end of the day, it's how you connect with the brand and how they connect back with you. And then there are tactics. Like if you're Budweiser and you withhold the entire South African hop crop from American brewers to be an asshole, you're not craft.
Yeah.
No matter how big you are. That's a bad move. So
yeah.
It's not the spirit of craft.
Yeah. It's just not artistic. It's not inclusionary. Like one of the things about beer festivals that always made it exciting in the beginning is just the fact that we'd all go to beer festivals and compete with each other for the attention of consumers, but we'd all be in the back drinking and joking around with each other in the green room because that's what it was. It was a community, and it was more than just a business. When it becomes more business than it is that, then I think that's sort of the line, and that's subjective for everybody. But.
Yeah.
So do you think the craft beer community can continue that collaboration and that mentality of being craft beer, or do you think that's going to shift over the next 5-10 years?
They always can. I think the hard part is that you're starting to see more and more guys that win, and girls when the challenges happen and when the numbers aren't growing easily, they start having to fight with each other and exclude each other. And that's a natural part of any growing industry, especially one that isn't doubling year over year anymore. But it's always going to be a choice of the people. And so you're always going to have somebody at some brewery who's just super cool and always will be. And then you're always going to have someone who's just a complete jerk and would steal from you and steal a tap handle and talk about you behind your back. And, it doesn't matter whether you have a board of directors or just an individual owner. It just sort of whoever's leading the team, I guess, and what the kind of the DNA of that company is.
Yeah.
But so yes, we could. I don't know if we will. I guess would be the answer.
There'll probably always be a group that does, the Avengers change the lineup from time to time, right?
And they got bring in some new blood.
Yeah, but there's always the Avengers. They're always there to save the day. Same thing with craft. I mean, it's just to be a brewer. There are jerks that just. But I don't know, to open a brewery, when you read your story, it's I don't know. There's got to be something more to you than just worried about money most of the time.
If you're doing it to get rich, you're an idiot.
Right. So those types of people, they're usually pretty good people, and just, I don't know. The reason that I want people to drink beer and enjoy beer, here, this beer, whatever. Yeah, I think it plays to that.
Well, and a lot of times the guy or girl starting it are definitely those people, but as it goes on and they have to take on new investors, new capital, new loans, they lose some control. And so a lot of times what ends up happening with the brewery is that the person that then has control is not the person that is the craft person. And that's, inevitable with any business, but.
Yeah. Mobile canning lines. Big fan?
So I do say at the end of that chapter that I do not wish ill will on any mobile canning people. That the people who do that business, they're cool. I've met some of them; they're nice guys, but it is probably the worst investment you can possibly make as an owner of a brewery. The only ones that I see doing it that make any sense are the ones that can and sell exclusively on site, and even that, your margins are pretty slim. But if you've got that kind of environment where you can do it, sure. But if you're selling that shit at the grocery store, clearly you have not used a spreadsheet.
I've not.
Well, you're not selling at the grocery store either. But.
Well, I just got off the phone with a couple of mobile canners, so I'm just not going to call them back now.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to can, but I've never seen spreadsheets. I don't even know what a spreadsheet is.
Yeah, wow.
Should probably take a look at one.
You need to do some calculations before you do it, because it's crazy. I just don't. I think a lot of people, I've talked to some brewers, some that I like, some of our friends, that were like, well, we don't make a lot, but we just sort of look at it as a marketing expense. I'm like, that's a dumb idea, because you are marketing the most challenging format to possibly put your product in. It's traveling hot. It's sitting on a shelf. It's being manhandled by you have 8 different people before it gets to the consumer. The consumer might put it in the fridge, might not. They might leave it in the back of the fridge for 6 months. There's no way to know like kind of how that's going to turn out at the end. So from a marketing perspective, what you mean is it's a billboard on the shelf. And that can make sense, but ultimately the first time your distributor says you need to come do a tasting or you've got to buy back out-of-date product, like that marketing expense becomes a real expense. That's a negative on your spreadsheet, and then you're in trouble. So
yeah, and I think the go back and watch Beer Wars. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
And they talked about the shelf space and how ABI had that was
and that was like 15 years ago.
Yeah,
so
that was
now.
That was pre-ABI. That was just AB. And at the very end, they had to add that in as a footnote, like, oh, by the way, that big thing happened.
Yeah.
But they acted like that's a billboard. That's why they have the different formats of six pack and cans, bottles, and tall boys, and all that. Right. I think that is becoming obsolete. Like grocery stores, I don't go in grocery stores that often. I get stuff delivered to my house. It's all what looks good on my Amazon Fresh or whatever. I don't know. I think that's another thing.
H-E-B is still the largest beer retailer in the state of Texas, so it hasn't changed dramatically yet, but definitely there's some push.
I think it's close. I think like 10 years from now, I don't know. I guess it would take people like Amazon owns Whole Foods now. I think when you see a Whole Foods that only has like a lobby, with a big screen,
kiosk,
then
essentially,
you'll know like, oh, yeah, they don't care about shelves. It's all about robots going and finding it and bringing it to you or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's when we'll know. I think that's close though. But I also think maybe the next 2 legislative sessions we push for craft beer being able to do drone deliveries direct to consumer.
Supposedly we can't.
Can't do drone delivery?
No, you can't push for anything.
Oh.
Part of the last deal was that we made we'll stay out of it for like I think it was 8 years.
That's stupid.
So
8 years.
You can still argue, but like they're basically saying there was an agreement that we wouldn't.
Who?
The Texas Craft Brewers Guild.
Who did? Yeah, they did. I didn't. Who?
Open the taps. We're gonna start that one back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Open the drones.
Remember that? Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
Launch the drones with a beer.
That could be fun.
Yeah. I mean, 8 years. That's forever.
I don't know the exact dates. I stay out of it, but ultimately I know that they agreed to shut up.
4
for a while.
years is forever.
Yeah.
I mean, look at 4 years ago. What are we doing? 4 years.
Yeah, there's no way. I mean, in 4 to 8 years, like what's going to be different? It's going to be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And other states are going to, of course, pass us by,
Uh-huh.
give their local brewers, the advantage of being able to be more successful and have greater access to the consumer. So whatever.
What do you think will happen first? Another update for the craft brewers in Texas or legal weed in Texas?
Ooh. I think legal weed's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Because it's legal in the minds of everybody, but none of the people who are actually getting elected. So I guess once that changes, that would be
That might be a generational thing. Texas just grew up with it being legal everywhere. Oh, it's not. And then somebody just says, oh, okay, well, let's just pass it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it might take 20 years or something.
But so Texas is that weird state that like we're overall conservative state, but if you ask anybody in any of the cities, like we're all like essentially liberal.
Uh-huh.
And so it's a weird, like I don't know where that tipping point comes where the laws start to reflect the population, but it's not there yet. So
No, I don't know. I say go for drones.
I like the drone idea.
Yeah, because they're getting better. And how awesome would it be to be to bottle something up fresh and then it just flies off to whoever, no more. You could have lines at the brewery, or you could say we'll drone it to you in San Antonio, or I don't know how far drones go.
I don't either.
I mean, soon they'll go. They'll be like nuclear.
Military ones go a long ways.
Yeah,
Maybe.
That'll be there. Yeah, just make sure you plugged in all your drones.
50 caliber submachine guns optional. Yeah.
Yeah, you got the ABI drones coming at you.
Protected.
you have to have guard drones.
Beer Wars Part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's gonna be a thing though. Oh, we're sorry. We didn't mean to fly that drone into your drones full of all your beer. That would happen. It would absolutely happen.
They would have to. There's no other way they could fight it.
And they might, even if they said drone on drone is bad. I think there's a law in Texas, or maybe it's not Texas, but somewhere where maybe it's Colorado, where the airspace, like above your property, there's air rights, and then somebody has to rent the air rights
to fly over it.
Yeah.
Huh.
And so they could say, "Oh, we own the air rights to these places," and have like trebuchets or whatever, trying to knock your drones. I don't know why they'd go with a catapult, but all the dilly commercials, they had a surplus. Aren't they called trebuchets? Isn't that what they're called? With the big one with the long counterweight?
I can say with 100% honesty that I don't know or care what they're called.
Okay. Maybe part 2.
All right.
Maybe part 2 of the episode. So mobile canners, great. Okay. Definitely do that.
100% of the time.
100% of the time. Also, if a beer's a little off or a lot off, package that stuff up and sell it, right?
Absolutely. You'd be surprised. Well, maybe you wouldn't, but there's a lot more of that going on than there needs to be. And from the other side, like, and obviously you guys are the consumers. I understand why it's very, very hard to dump beer. So one of the biggest lessons that I had to learn is there was a batch of Black Fury. It was at the time I think we had 15 or 16 barrels of it. It was going to be the largest release of a sour beer I'd ever done at that point as far as volume. It was right after Nathan had started. I think literally 90 days later. And so he and I really hadn't had the time to kind of learn each other's nuances. And, like, you know, I appreciated what he did. I trusted him. But, like, do I trust him enough to dump half that batch down the drain? And so we did a barrel sampling of all of them. And he, to his credit, stood up to me and he was like, dude, these 10 barrels have got to go. And at that point, I had made the mistake of already telling my distributor what the output was going to be, or distributors plural, and then getting kind of preliminary commitments from them. And as an owner, I had already spent the money that I was getting. Not really, right? But I'm like, oh, I'm going to get $9,000 for the sale. So perfect. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to buy this thing. And what he was telling me is I was going to get $4,000 for the sale, whatever it was. I was like, shit. So we went kind of back and forth for a minute. And I go, you know what? I'm leaving the brewery. I'm going to go walk around the block, dump the barrels. I don't want to hear about it again. Just don't ever tell me we did this. And just, like, I couldn't say yes, do it, but I knew it needed to be done. And that's a hard point to be in, especially, you know, when you've got a run of beer going, you've got grocery stores that have it. If you don't supply that grocery store with beer, one of the ways that HEB does their numbers is that they take a data-driven set of what your 60-day or 90-day sales data is. And if you have zeros on 4 of those weeks, that gets amortized in as a 0. They don't go, oh, well, you didn't have product for us. We get it. Like, you now sold nothing that week. So the other guy who was doing a really shitty job, but he only sold 1, outsold you. And you could potentially lose your spot at HEB, maybe not to get it back again. So there's a lot of risk to a mediocre beer on the shelf is better than no beer on the shelf from a business perspective. But the long-term negatives, I can attest firsthand. Releasing bad beer is very, very hard to overcome in the minds of consumers. So don't fucking do it.
Yeah. But easier to pay up front than
sometimes.
Pay in the
yeah. So
you just have to take that walk far enough away not to hear the gunshot.
Yep.
That was it, right?
Well, and so then the harder part becomes, where is that parameter lie? Like, so if you're making a Pilsner and it's not that bitter, what does that mean? That's subjective. Like, so you've got to set parameters for yourself of, it's supposed to be 14 IBU. It came in at 12. It's just not something that we're proud of. Or you release it, and then people taste it, and they're like, you know what? They don't make that good a beer. And they never try it again. Or they never appreciate it again, at least. So.
Yeah, that's a toughie. Because when that's business. I mean, you need money. You need to survive, right? Or you need to keep going on. I could see, literally. Okay, that one I could feel like the emotional side of it, because I mean, do most people know what really good beer tastes like? As we're talking about in chapter 1.
Right.
It's like, do you make that gamble that only the people that don't really know are going to drink it, or? But then it's the mark on your soul.
Well, so one of the things I said in the beginning, though, is the beer needs to be consistently good or consistently bad. But so this is more of a question of that. Like, is it consistent where your loyal customer is going to drink it again and go, yeah, that's the same beer that I know and love and can trust? And if it's different, now they start asking themselves questions like, what did they do to it? Is it bad? Like, I just put this in my mouth. Like, this is going into my body. Do I trust this brewer? Do I trust this brewery? Am I going to try their next special release? And so that consistency is an important part of it. And I think that's a harder one to it's because again, like maybe some people aren't going to notice.
Yeah.
And so maybe most of the people probably won't notice, but if 10% of the people notice every time, eventually everyone's going to notice if you keep doing it. So.
Yeah. That was a tough. Blake, speaking of Yellow Rose, they had some Yellow Rose that was a little off, and they had to pull a bunch of it back when they discovered, later on, and that was tough. You could tell, just talking to him, just the look on his face was like, this whole thing sucks.
Well, financially, it's a huge hit, especially if you've got to replace that beer again.
Yes.
You basically have to go rebrew it, and now your cash flow's fucked.
Yes, yes. But I think you could avoid that whole problem, and then I'm trying to think of when you give these things of what not to do, I'm thinking, okay, here's the thing you could do. You could just trust your distributor to do your sales for you.
Right.
And then it's out of your hands, just fine, right?
Yeah, right, absolutely.
No?
That was actually what if you had seen our business plan in the beginning, that was in there.
Mm-hmm.
I actually sold the whole thing to my wife as, look, think about it. Like, I'm going to supply, so I'll go in and I'll make beer. I'll give it to our distributors, and I'll go home and hang out with you guys on the weekends. And we quickly learned that is not even remotely the case, and that without a presence in the market, which, Mary, you know that. Like, you've got to have reps here all the time. They're constantly doing what they can to educate you guys and then spend time with the customers, giving them a hat or a sticker or a free pint or whatever. And that's an important piece, especially if you're trying to build a beer or a brand name around a beer style that isn't sexy and exciting.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely right. Yeah. And we take time. We try the beers. That's why those are sitting there. So thank you for bringing them.
Yeah.
We'll try them, and so far so good. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, why don't you want to try another one? I was kind of looking at that big old full bucket. Kelly, what do you say? What are we doing? Is that okay?
Can I say this one right here has got this nice little tartness and acidity, and just it's got a savoriness behind it.
Yeah, so some of that savory note is from a little bit from the oak, but then the wine that's in there tends to give you that. So you get a little bit of that red wine character, gives that almost meatier note to the body, because it's completely bone dry, so it doesn't have any sugar to kind of give it a thicker body.
It's beautiful.
Thanks.
I like the color of this one.
This is part of a new series that we started making last year, and it's essentially a spent fruit series. So we make beers called Saison Day, which are our first fruit, and always going to be barrel-aged beer that is re-fermented with whole fruit. And so Saison Day Rancy is every year in December. We do essentially the first beer you just had, but then we bring it out. When I put all that evanescent in the tank, I'll take a percentage of it off and re-ferment it with raspberries and blackberries. Oh, cheers.
Yeah. Mm.
And so then once I rack that beer off, that's 2.5 pounds per gallon, bright pink. All the fruit's still in the tank. I pull that beer off and I put a new batch of Blondine right over top of it and just ferment it on the fruit. So there's no real sugar in this. It's kind of tannins. It's the perception of fruit. It's not a big bold jam fest.
Yeah.
It's kind of the opposite. It's dry. It's funky.
I like that Blondine is such a workhorse.
Yeah, I say it's the soul of the brewery. Like it's one of those beers that has to be made right to begin with, because it'll mess a lot of shit up down the line.
No, I love Blondine. If you see that out, grab some. That's a great beer. This is a good beer. I like this too. This is
a real treat for me. This is the first time I've tried these beers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this one really didn't get released, so my distributor in Houston is going to get 2 cases just for fun. They always have a couple retailers that are into, but predominantly we're keeping this one at the brewery. But I wanted you guys to taste it because I'm really proud of how it turned out. I think it's cool.
Yeah. Well, since we're predominantly a Houston podcast, where in Houston can people find your stuff?
In Houston, some of the best places would be Thistle Draftshop. As far as packaged beer, like Specs and Total Wine, have been pretty good supporters overall. Like Total Wine will bring in just about everything that we make because it tends to sell pretty well for them.
Cool.
And then Specs, I think there's 6 stores or something like that will consistently bring it in.
Total Wine only has, I think, 3
up here.
Yeah, 3 or 4 locations, Houston area.
Growing fast.
Yeah, that one in the Woodlands is.
Oh, they have 8.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I don't know.
They're all the way down in League City.
Oh, there you go.
There's quite a few of them.
Yeah, they have a newer one in the Woodlands. It's. Don't go there on your lunch break because you'll be late getting back. It's just like, oh man, that's happened to me before. It's like there's too much to look at here, anyway.
When we first released Pickle Fucker in the 12-ounce bottles, I did a sampling there. That was fun.
Yeah.
All those little Woodlands people being like, wait, there's pickle juice in it? But they loved it. I sold out of it in like an hour. It was great.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's an interesting area. Woodlands. Just Google Woodlands Corvette race.
All right.
Just on YouTube.
See what happens.
Yeah, that was probably, that's probably been 10 years now before there was as much out there. It's blown up too. That area is probably 300,000 people or something like that. I don't know. It's a lot. But anyway, there weren't as many. Anyway, there's two kids that borrowed their dad's Corvettes and decided to race it, and it didn't go well. So it's my favorite Woodlands YouTube clip. I don't know if there's any other Woodlands YouTube clips, but that was my favorite.
All right.
So
there's no second place.
No, I don't know if there's any others. I'm sure there are. Anyway, but yeah. So distributors, definitely sell your stuff, or not. But
that's actually one of my favorite chapters in the book. So when you read through that one, have fun.
Well, okay. So if you can't trust your distributors necessarily to have the love for your craft, for your art that you do, right? I mean, they have it's just they can't. They won't. What you could do, and Mary, I'm sure you thought about doing it this way, and if you had thought about opening Thistle Draftshop correctly, you would have made it as small and intimate as possible, right? Like a small, intimate tap room, right? Just a small.
No way.
No?
Need space. Yeah. We actually have 15 seats in our tasting room when we first opened. But that was sort of the idea back then. It was like people would come in and they would pay for a tour. So it was a little bit higher. You get a glass and all that kind of stuff. So the revenue piece was different. And then when the law changed 14, 15, whatever, I think it was 14, that we were able to actually sell beer.
13, yeah.
Yeah, then we had already sort of built this. We're like, oh, shit. So, yeah, it was the fall of 13. And so we didn't have enough space. And so we tried to make the most of what we had. But as a tasting room, you literally have to run it like a bar. And that's one of the biggest things that we realized, that without gluten-free options, without even maybe a food component, obviously more seats, but you've also got to have beer that people can just hang out and drink. So for our brewery, the number one biggest seller in our tasting room are flights, because we're kind of experimental brewery. For one, you want to try different things and explore new things, but outside of a couple of beers, most people just aren't. There's not a session like you're not pounding 8 of them and hanging out with your buddies all afternoon.
Right.
And so, as you realize that, like, well, how else then can we get the revenue where it needs to be? Because if you can't generate revenue in your tasting room and you're relying solely on distribution, you're in very deep shit. Like, it's inconsistent. It's not even that they're bad. It's just, if HEB doesn't sell this week, you can't, nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
But in your tasting room, you can run a special. You can, email people and bring them in with a new beer. You have a little more control over what goes on a quicker turnaround basis.
Right. Creativity.
Yeah.
Back to marketing.
So I needed about 5 times the space that I have, even some more tap lines and everything. So
So flights are your number one. Like most people ask for flights.
Mm-hmm. And we kind of push them that way because we want people to explore what we do. We definitely have like repeat fans that come in, but we also change, except for Blondine and Pickle Fucker, we change the other 6 taps just about every week. Yeah. And so if you came in last month, you're going to try all new stuff. And that's kind of what we want you to do.
Do you think there's a way to cut the time on a flight pour? Like, could you make a all-in-one, like here's our set flight for the day, and it just like one big lever that connects to all them? Something, I don't know. Is that?
I don't think you'd be able to pour it right. Those little glasses are a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So
something.
They don't pour easily.
There's some innovation there, because flights, they take time. And if you're behind somebody ordering 3 flights, it's like, and they're all different, you're like, oh, I hope you enjoy it. That's kind of my thought. I hope you enjoy all of those beers. I really do. All of them. And then I get my beer and I'm happy again. It's just a moment. It's just me being selfish, self-centered.
At least you can accept it and admit it.
Yeah. No, I can be self-centered. I think we all can for the moment. I'm like, but then I really do hope that I'll probably end up asking that person, like, what'd you I do that.
Yeah, right.
I like hearing what other people like. I mean, that's, I don't know. I don't get all uppity, like, oh, you don't like that. I've never understood the broing out on the styles of beer people like. I mean, there's some people that still do that. You don't like IPAs?
Yeah.
What's up with that? I like what you like. I like that you like. Tell me what you like about it. I've always liked that.
Well, we definitely don't have a culture of that in our brewery.
Right.
It's whatever goes. So.
Yeah.
We did a version of Pickle Fucker with fruit punch in it last weekend, so
how did that?
We don't care.
Well, I was thinking of, like, that was something I was mulling over. Like, you see, you go to the rodeo and they'll do the big pickles, but then they'll add like Kool-Aid to the pickle jar.
Yeah, the Cool Lickles or whatever they call them now.
Yeah. And I was like, oh wait.
That's what kind of gave me the idea.
Yeah.
So
Rodeo's coming up.
I just wanted to try and see what it tastes like. So it was literally one of those experiments where I made a 5-gallon keg because so I do this all the time where I'll make something because I need to know what it tastes like, fully expecting it to dump down the drain. And I tasted it after about 2 weeks in the keg. I forgot we did it. And I was like, son of a bitch. Because it's sort of goofy. It's Jarritos fruit punch. It's pickle juice. But it was pretty goddamn amazing. So we're actually going to release some and have some fun with it. And so we'll bottle it up and have it available for the summer. So.
Yeah. I was thinking about that because I saw a sign like rodeos coming up in 2 weeks. It's a busy time of year. You think, okay, you get through the holidays and you can just kind of chill out. We have about a week to chill out because you're...
Fat Tuesday's next week, too.
Yeah, Fat Tuesday, then St. Patty's Day. You had Valentine's Day if you're into that sort of thing. Just gorge yourself on chocolate or pastry stouts or whatever. And then...
Or women.
Yeah. And then rodeo. And then what's after rodeo?
Spring break.
Spring break?
You're exhausted.
I know. I'm just exhausted thinking about it. And then what's after spring break? You have like a minute to breathe, and then it's like, oh, summer.
Easter.
And then you've got...
Then you can start drinking again.
Yeah.
Wait.
and then it's crawfish season through all of that. There's a lot of beer to be drank. What's the best? Okay, I put this out on Twitter. I didn't even look at my poll results, but best beer for, well, it's the best style in general, that your go-to style for crawfish, with crawfish.
Beer?
Yeah.
It probably goes back to that. One of the most fun times I ever had at Mardi Gras was with a Beta Amber, and that beer was just had the right amount of like this toasty crispiness. I think it's perfect for it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Pilsner's obvious, but
yeah, Pilsner's good one. Anything it's got to be in a can though. I think.
I like the bottles. Like that just works. Like, the bottle all messy and
Well, yeah, but by the end of it, it's just completely trashed. Yeah. You don't want a glass.
Well, that's why you keep getting new ones, and then the fresh bottle's not as bad.
Right. That's true. True. You need something to where. What am I buzzing at? I don't know. The phone. I got 5 phones over here. It's fine. Okay. Oh, there we go. Well, you know what? Okay, so let's say you don't have a very intimate, small tap room, starting out because you just read that chapter and you realized, that it's not as good. And you hear the music in the background. That means Thistle Draftshop's open for business and
rock and roll.
Yeah, it's Mary just tried to turn it down.
She almost turned it up.
I know. They just have a certain amount of rock that they've got to hit.
They're seething with rock, as it were.
It is. Their food. But I don't know why I'm whispering this. And since Mary's not here, we can talk about how good their food is. Their food is fantastic.
Really?
They got so much good stuff here, and it's so much good stuff. Well, okay, so you're not going to go with an intimate tap room, but you'd have to look at like your online reviews for then. Is that where you put all your time and effort into figuring out?
We all do it in the beginning, and so I know when I write that people are still going to do it for a minute.
Yeah.
But fuck Untapped. Online beer reviews are the worst, dude. You literally have to have somebody that pays attention to what's being said about you on the internet.
Yeah.
But you also have to be aware that people say just horrible things on the internet because they're horrible people, not because your beer's that bad.
Right.
So there was definitely, that has been a long struggle for me.
Yeah.
Of being able to read the garbage and not get mad about it.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point you have to.
Yeah, but the thing, if you go to the different places where people leave reviews, it's probably the same person leaving the bad review in a bunch of different spots.
Well, to an extent, but I think there was a brewery on the East Coast somewhere that did a 2-star beer or something like that. They were trying to make fun of it because people will literally say, go look on Untapped, go look up Pickle Fucker, go as far back as you can. You're gonna see people that go half a cap or whatever the thing is. Why the fuck would you put pickle juice in a beer?
Yeah.
And the follow-up to that is, why the fuck did you drink it? You clearly don't like pickle juice and beer. Why would you put that in your face?
Right.
Because if you like pickle juice and beer, you would have loved it.
Yeah.
So don't rate it. Don't go online and put something permanently on the internet that everyone can read for the rest of eternity because they won't take it down if you don't like it.
Yeah, that's my favorite review. So too bitter. Just but I hate IPA. IPA is not really my style.
Right.
1 star. It's like this.
I actually called one guy out on Twitter for it. And again, I've had a long road coming to maturity on this one. I would not say I'm there yet. But he did that exact same thing, and I called him out, and I said something to the effect of, well, then it seems like it would make sense you wouldn't drink it. And he replies back, well, my girlfriend had it, I just tasted it. And, like, my brain shut down. I'm like, you know what I meant. That was such a stupid response that I can't even think of one to say back to you. I stopped.
The internet. It's the best thing and it's the worst thing all at one time, right? I mean, it allows a podcast, us to sit around and people are going to hear it. Thousands of people are going to hear it. Remarkably, I was looking at my numbers the other day, like where a lot of people up in Oregon are listening to the show.
Oregon? Really?
Yeah. I don't know why, but come to Texas, y'all.
You get around.
I guess. Trying to think. There was other, like some Australian downloads.
Yeah.
Where was I? I think I even had one in Kazakhstan or somewhere like that.
Really?
Yeah, I guess. Somebody's just enthusiastic.
Do you do it in other languages?
No. Maybe there's some oil guy over there or something. That's what I assume.
That's one thing that's cool about the Kindle is the Amazon listing. I've sold the book, I think, in 5 countries, counting the United States. And I guess they just translate it to Spanish because I didn't do that. Or maybe that guy reads English. I don't know. But there's like I made like $100 in Mexico.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do they pay in dollars or is it like 10,000 pesos? Or something?
Yeah, I don't know what they probably paid in whatever the exchange rate was or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah. What is the rate? What is it? How many pesos in a dollar?
400,000, I think. I have no idea.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it pays. Is a peso like a penny or is a peso a dollar? Like, is that I don't know.
Used to be $1. Like, I remember when we used to go there, it was 9. Like, when I was a kid, it was 9 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
But I have no idea what it is now.
Oh. Well, see, that's another thing that you would probably want to learn. Cash flow.
Cash flow.
Segue.
Yeah.
But you don't have to learn that because all the money will just keep rolling in, right?
That is probably the biggest. I mean, if I had to pick one, that's probably the biggest mistake that we learned.
Yeah.
And it's still something that it's super hard in our industry because when you're doing manufacturing, the easy answer is always like, well, I'll just get like a line of credit and open that up, and then you can get your grains. But at some point, any net whatever you've got ends up washing itself where you have to pay the last bill before you can get new shit. They're not just going to keep giving you. Well, there are some out there, but surprisingly. So normally you've got to figure out how to get paid for what you manufactured in time to pay the bill that you incurred by manufacturing it. And so like I remember there were times when my wife was like, well, no, we need to wait till next week to order grains because we have to pay this. And so it's like, all right, fine, that sucks. And then what you realize when you sit down and do the math, you just completely fucked your month over because that you now can't brew beer for an additional 7 to 8 days. You won't get paid for that beer for another 30 days. So that's going to be in the following calendar month. And so your revenue for this month is toast. And it's, we came from another industry, and in that industry, it made complete sense. Like, if you don't have money, you don't spend money. In this industry, it's sort of the opposite. If you don't create, you cannot bill. And if you don't bill, you can't get money. So you've sort of got to go into hock a little bit every month to make sure you're making more so that you can get paid, which is just counterintuitive for anybody who runs spreadsheets and numbers.
Yeah. I'll take your word for it.
You don't run spreadsheets and numbers?
Again, like I said, never seen a spreadsheet. I'm not sure what they are.
The hardest part for us, I think, was the learning curve of coming from the fitness industry, is we had 8,000 members that would pay every month on a draft. So I could tell you on the first how much money I was going to get from my billing company in 15 days. So I was like, oh, well, let's go pay that bill and pay that bill and then pay that bill. And you know what? We have enough for this. And this industry is the exact opposite. Like, I've had an issue. One of my best distributors, nothing wrong with them, but they just had a moment where some things went wrong. And so the last couple of months, I've gotten paid a week late. When it's 30% of your income on that one check, that's a big deal. I have to sort of in holding pattern. So I've had to figure out some creative ways to make sure that even if I get paid a week late, I can still go get my grains and I can still pay the light bill and all that kind of stuff. Which all that'll be in book 2 if I get to write a book 2. So.
You think you're already thinking book 2?
Yeah, actually, there's in the very end, I think the second to last paragraph, I say that I've done a lot of things over the last year, learning from this book that have changed what I've done. We've restructured product lines. Our revenue today is, I would not have believed it a year ago if you had told me we'd be where we are today, just because of all the changes we had to do and everything. But if there is a follow-up book, it will be about the pivot and the success of the brewery. If there isn't one, because I don't want to talk about it, because it's not there.
All right. Well, the book is available on Kindle right this moment. I'm going to get this episode up today.
Oh, cool.
And don't let me forget to take a picture. I need a spreadsheet for that. Things to do when you're doing it.
You can just do a reminder in your phone. It'll pop up. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to run your show for you.
I need a spreadsheet on set the reminder.
Right. Good one.
It's always because I always just sit down I think of all the other stuff and then just take a picture. I just need a picture.
All
you
the
two
other
just
stuff,
sitting
like
right
drink
there.
beer. You remember to drink beer. You just forgot to take the picture.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So y'all don't get up till I take a picture. I mean,
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
yeah. All right. But anyway, so book available right now on Kindle, which everybody, you can get the app no matter if on your phone, Kindle app on iPhone or Android or whatever you have, and you can read it right away. Paperback, you said March 1st.
Correct.
Just like when you're watching, you could be reading the book while watching the wagon train come in for the rodeo.
There you go.
Or whatever. Or the rodeo, a great place if you like to ride rides and you hate money. Like you can go through so much money.
Or if you like giving it to people.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you hate, just want to get rid of all your money.
Sometimes it has bacteria and stuff on it. Like giving it away is almost healthy in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Healthier when you wash your hands.
No, that's true. Spoken by a lady with 7 sinks out there for everyone to wash their hands after they come out of the bathroom.
Yeah, why 7? It's like in a full kitchen, right? You have to have 7. That's the law. It's like a rule.
Three, really? I
think
think you'd have a 3-compartment sink. I don't know if you have to have 7.
No, there's a lot of sinks involved.
Yeah,
I
it's
shouldn't
been
be
a while.
involved in
There's
this.
Yeah, there's a lot of sinks involved. And we don't,
It's very sinky.
yeah,
What,
they have to be
what is the sunken
available.
cost of sink? I don't know if that's
Too much. Way too much.
Yeah.
Way overthought.
Yeah. All right. I don't know. That's, again, I don't know. I'll just say I don't know. I'll wrap it there.
Yeah.
Do we have, I know you've got things to do today. Would you by any chance have time to do a segment, say on just I don't know, pickle fucker or something like that? Maybe we just
Sure.
talk all the...
Just pickle it out.
Just pickle it out?
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then we'll wrap here, and that'll be exclusive. Is that okay if that's exclusive to... We have a lot of industry people on our Patreon.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Mary, are you okay to talk some pickle fucker?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I can't seem to ever stop talking about pickle fucker, so might as well.
Why would you want to?
I don't necessarily, but
All right. We're going to have people looking at us weird as they're... A lot of pickle fuckers over here is what we're going to... Anyway. Listen up, everybody. And get the book. How Not to Start a Fucking Brewery. You got to put the emphasis on it because I feel like you can feel the emotion in the title.
yeah. I actually added the fucking to it afterwards. It used to be called So You Want to Start a Brewery. That was the working title. And I realized, I don't know, I sent you the numbers yesterday. There's 70-something variations of the word fuck inside of it. Probably should let people know before they buy it that word's going to be in there. So I added it to the title.
Okay. So, so watch for the paperback version, March 1st. Kindle right now, and then maybe a sequel in the future, maybe a movie, maybe a miniseries, maybe audio version.
I really want to do an audio version.
You need to do an audio.
Yeah.
If I can help you in any way, I don't know what I would do. I have a recorder. We can just sit here for the rest of the day and I'll watch you.
Buckle up, Buttercup. I'm going to be here a while.
All right. Well, Kelly Meyer, New Braunfels Brewing. If you're look for their beers around the Houston area, like we said, but also they're all also available other places like New Braunfels or Austin.
And we'd love to have you come visit.
Yes.
I don't go a single day over the weekend without someone from Houston in our tasting room. So
Really?
Yep.
Because we love you.
Yep.
So.
And they also want to get out of Houston and come to New Braunfels, I guess.
Yes. There's. Yeah. Houston is I love Houston, but I like getting out of Houston too.
My whole family's coming in June, so we'll
Oh,
be
yeah?
there. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, well,
All right.
remind me for sure. I'll show you guys around.
All right. Well, also, everybody, Thistle Draftshop here in Spring, you know it, or if you don't know it, you should know it. If you don't know, now you know. One of the best places of all time. Delicious food, fantastic variety of beers, coffee, all the things.
Thank you, Josh.
And delicious food. And Mary. And the best people. Yeah. Where's Jake? What's he doing today?
Oh, Mondays are Jake's day off, so
Yeah. He deserves it.
does he?
Long. I just play along.
Okay.
He deserves at least
He
half,
works.
at
he
least
works
half
pretty,
a day.
Yeah, he works pretty hard.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for Kelly and for Mary, I'm Josh. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And check out that Patreon page if you want to hear some exclusive pickle fucker talk. That's the only place you're going to get it. Anyway, this is InterBrews.
Thanks, Steve.
This is InterBrews.
The preceding has been a presentation of Stewed Productions.